Greetings, gardeners. It's a beautiful day here in Hawaii. I have just returned from California and I'm back at my house in Hawaii. The trade winds have started again. There's a little breeze coming through. Maybe here and there you can hear the wind chimes. So it's beautiful. Everything here is just exactly the way we would like to see it again. Well, the reason I'm in front of the camera today is the plant right here behind me. It's the green bean, the lowly green bean. Green bean happens to be one of my favorite vegetables. And whereas here in Hawaii we have all sorts of exotic things and a lot of stuff like bananas and pineapples and vanilla and coffee, they all grow great here. The lowly green bean does not grow so easily in this environment. Paradise is a state of mind, not a place, believe me. And so I've actually been challenged to produce the bean in this area. I've grown several crops out in the field with better or worse success. None of the crops came anywhere close to what I had actually anticipated from past experience. It would be my opinion that generally a green bean is one of the simpler things you can grow. You don't require a plant. You push a bean in the ground, you know, and for the most part just kind of walk away and let it do its thing. In this environment, the problems have actually been many. So I've been looking for solutions to raise beans more successfully. Here we have the moisture problems, and so the beans will succumb to various different types of funguses and die away prematurely. I got a lot of leaf drop because the leaves are damaged from all the humidity. We have problems with nematode in this area. They tunnel under the root of the beans and they really cause the bean to decline prematurely. It doesn't produce the way it should. Then we've got the rose beetle. Son of a gun's a nocturnal beetle that comes out and starts to eat all the leaves off of the plant, again weakening the beans. And so currently I'd been faced with all three of these problems and maybe a couple others I hadn't even noticed. Looking for a solution, I decided to plant the beans under the eave of the roof where they would be protected from excessive rainfall, keeping the leaves drier. That has worked really well to keep fungus off the beans. I also used containers full of artificial soil mixes at ground level to keep the nematodes from attacking the bean roots. And that's also been really sweet. The one thing I did not anticipate, though, and it was how growing the bean right next to my house chased away the rose beetles. In conversation with a gentleman who runs Rainforest Coffee up here in Honoka'a, he had told me that they use light for 2 hours after dark near their plants to keep the rose beetles from setting down and feeding on them. It's about a 2-hour window after the sun goes down where if there's light present, it disturbs the beetles and they will not come out to feed. Well, by putting the beans right next to the wall of my house over here, what happened is that I'm up in the evening and I've got the lights on in the house. Maybe we're watching TV or something, and the light coming out of the house scares the beetles away, and I haven't had any feeding whatsoever. This is just so cool. You can see right here that I'm just using plastic storage tubs that I drilled holes in the bottom of. In the past, I have used like 20-gallon tree tubs like these right over here for growing things in, but these tubs are more expensive, and I can pick the storage tub up over at Walmart and Target and other discount houses like that for about $5 a piece, so it's pretty inexpensive. I've filled the tubs up full of a conventional potting soil. They're positioned right here under the eaves of my house, keeping the leaves dry. I built trellises out of strawberry guava sticks, an invasive species here on the island. And trellises pushed in at ground level behind the beans. Here you can see the poles were just leaned up against the edge of the roof over here. And I tied them together with shoelaces and cross pieces. They're pushed down here inside the tubs at the base. Holds them in place pretty good. Beans are actually coming up out of 2 different tubs right here. And the space in the front of the beans Bothered to use it up by putting in some carrot seed, because the carrots are also badly affected by the nematodes here. So I decided I was going to raise them up in buckets and keep them away from the little pesky guys until I can figure out what to do with them. So we are within days of harvest on these beans. It's just starting to come on now. At this point in time, the only damage I see on any of these plants at all is a little bit of friction from winds. We've had some pretty stiff winds. I'll beat the leaves up a bit. I'm also getting a little bit of leaf miner damage here. You can see the little lines in the bean leaves. The leaf miners don't really amount to much anything, and so that's not a problem that I'm concerned with. Here you can see the baby beans forming. The crop looks like it's going to be really, really good. It's a nice flowering. I've got beans hanging all over the place here. I figure we're probably about 3 to 4 days from first harvest. This bean is called Vortex. And Vortex is a French filet, one of the nice, long, narrow French green beans. I've been raising this particular bean in several different states in the USA for over 40 years at this point in time. It is my favorite bean. For one, I don't like bush beans. They're for machine pickers, not for people. I like a pole bean so I could stand there, do my picking upright. Vortex meets that criteria. But when it comes to flavor and quality, never a string in a Vortex bean. Never. Even when the beans are well oversized, they're still tender to eat. Because the beans are so long when they develop, it is so easy to see them and pick them. They just hang straight down there. But there has never been a person ever that I gave either seed or produce to from this plant that didn't come back to me and went, "Bill, what was that green bean?" It is absolutely, from my opinion, the finest green bean you can grow. And I am so happy that I figured out a way here on the island to be able to produce this plant. Eventually, I do believe we'll move production into the hoop house over here and do a much larger scale. But for the meantime, my experiment of raising the bean in tubs using artificial soil mixes, which I inoculated with the proper bacteria for beans, okay, growing the beans underneath the edge of the eave so they're not getting the direct rainfall, and then having them near light for 2 hours after dark has kept the rose beetles away. Just these simple little maneuvers changed what was a disaster into a success story. This may end up being one of the finest crops of Vortex I have ever raised. Aloha, happy gardening. Until later.